正大书法理论董事来我们所做一个学术的报告。这个报告的题目是关于佛教的中国化。宗教中国化是我们目前宗教界研究的一个趋势，所以也很高兴能够从这个不同的视角来理解我们的宗教的中国化。我看了一下，这个博士好像主要是拥有这个梵语哲学博士学位，而且应该是具有比较丰富的国际的多元文化的背景。那么相信他的讲座可能会给我们从这个宗教中国化与这个文明交流互鉴给我们更多的启示和启迪。那么接下来我们王老师大概比较熟悉我们博士，简单的介绍一下，请王老师。
Thank you very much. Can I start?
Do you understand?
No. I started to learn Chinese with Duolingo. Okay. A lot of difficulty because of the tones.
He said your speech is the legend of the the Sinicization of the Buddhism in the popular culture. We will help us to understand the more culture.
So, if I am speaking too fast or it's too complicated, you just tell me and I will stop and explain a bit more.
Yes, okay? And most people or the young people can understand in English. So I think needn't translation. So you can write, of course, something I can help you.
Oh, very good, very good, okay. Very good. First of all, I'm very honored to be here because especially, many people have studied this white snake legend. But mainly from the point of view of folklore and mythology and folklore. So I'm but my background is in religious studies, and that is why I'm interested in the story from the point of view of religious studies, from the point of view of the three teachings, Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism, and the relation between the three in the story. That is what I am very interested in. So let me first say, so in 2016, 9 years ago, I am from Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. So 9 years ago, we live in Chicago, my wife Elizabeth and me. So we were on the way from Chicago to Kuala Lumpur. We stopped over in Shanghai, and Professor Wang, he said, you have to go to Hangzhou and see the West Lake. So we were here only for 10 days. So we went to Hangzhou for 2 days. And the first day it was not very good. It was a lot of fog. So on the second day we visited Lingyan Temple. And then we went to Leifeng Pagoda. And then when we went to Leifeng Pagoda, I was very surprised to see some beautiful, I will show you now, panels about this white snake story. I never heard of this story before. So that is how this whole research started. But before that, let us, okay. First of all, I want to ask you some questions. How many of you do not know the story of white snake? Is there anybody who does not know? So everybody knows. Because you know better than me. You know since childhood. I only knew about it since 9 years. Every Chinese person. Every Chinese person asks, oh, I know since I was a child. So, okay. So how many of you know the story very well?
Not very well.
Story. No, okay. So I know you know the story very well.
Yeah, because Sichuan province is very nearby my hometown, Guangxi province, and when I was a young child, I watched the TV again.
You are from Sichuan province?
I'm from Guangxi province, just nearby the Sichuan province.
Okay, because Sichuan province is important in the story because Mount Emei. The story starts in Mount Emei Shan.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very important to the story.
I live in Chengdu 17 years.
I see.
So I know very well Huawei Mountain
I see.
and the Qingzhen Temple.
I see. Very good.
Mm.
Okay. So, since you know the story very well, have you noticed anything strange, unusual about the story, which does not make sense?
There's no really white snake in the nature.
In nature, there are white snakes. There are some, I have seen. You can see on the internet, there are some stuff. No, but the story itself, it is a folk tale, so there are many fantastic things. Snake become human being, that's fine. But when you look at the story about this Pahai, white snake, Su Xian, the husband, Su Mengjiao, the son, if you look very carefully, there's some very strange things. So that is why I became very interested. I said, it doesn't make sense. Why is it like this, the story? The way people have explained the story, it doesn't make sense. So anything obvious problems with the story? Say the relationship between Bai Su Zhen. If I mispronounce, please excuse me, because I just follow the English spelling of the translation, but the Chinese pronunciation. So Bai Su Zhen and Pahai, you look at the relation, it is a bit strange actually. So, have you noticed anything strange about the story? Because I have noticed many strange things. C'est en train de enregistrer?
Oui, oui.
This story, simple story, why is it so powerful? Why this story has so much importance in the Chinese mind? There are 4 stories, right? 4 folk tales which are very important. And one is White Snake. Then you have this story about cowherd boy and beaver maiden. This is for the Qixi festival. So like this, you have 4 stories. So why this story has got such importance? For all Chinese people. I mean, the story is in Hangzhou, but it is even people outside China, Chinese people know this story. And now it is becoming very well known outside of China, in Korea, in Japan, in Vietnam. They make so many movies. So is there a deeper meaning? So maybe the story is so popular and has been promoted by certain people because there is a deeper meaning. So the question then is, what is this meaning? So this is what my talk is about. So in my opinion, and this is said very openly, one of the main aims of the story is to reconcile the 3 teachings: Taoism, Confucianism, and Buddhism. Pahai is Buddhist, Su Xian is like a bit of like a Taoist, and Bai Su Zhen also is doing Taoist practice, and the son, Su Mengjiao, is a Confucian scholar. The top scholar in the end. So, if you see just before this period, just before this Southern Song period, there was very strong conflict between the doctrines. Emperor Huizong, for example, he was in the Song period, he was very staunch Taoist. So he started converting all the Buddhist temples into Taoist temples, including Jinshan temple. So only after
he more preferred to Taoism.
Exactly. So that is why I am saying the reason why this story was made is because many of the song literati, Southern song literati, they wanted to reconcile the traditions. At that time in Southern song, the Confucians knew a lot about Buddhism. That is why we have Neo-Confucianism. Similarly, the Buddhists knew a lot about Confucianism and Taoism. They were learning about each other. And so this story is about, I think, an attempt to reconcile. Okay. So, As I said, we went to Leifeng Pagoda. This was on 2016, July 3rd. So we remember the exact date. We were there only for a short time. We went to Leifeng Pagoda, second floor, and suddenly I saw these beautiful carvings, 8 carvings of the white snake story I saw for the first time. And so when I saw this story, I didn't know anything about this story. So when I saw these 8 images, these 8 scenes, they looked very familiar to me. As an Indian, it reminded me of many things I have studied in India. See? And it was very good I did not know the story, because it only gives you the main, these 8 scenes only gives you the main points of the story. See? So I could immediately make some connections. So here we have Bai Suzhen. She's leaving the world of the mortals and she's going to Hangzhou. Because, actually Guan Yin told her she has done a lot of meditation, a lot for thousands of years. She wants enlightenment. She wants liberation. So Guan Yin said, you are a snake, you cannot get liberation. If you want liberation, you have to become a human being. So she became human, went to Hangzhou. So this is it. Goes to the mortal world, to the human world. And this is very interesting. So as soon as she arrives, the reason she becomes a human is to get liberation, right? She wants immortality. But the moment she arrives, she meets this man, Susyan, a pharmacist, meets him and immediately falls in love. As soon as she arrives, she falls in love, and he also falls in love. And she arrives with her friend, green snake, right? White snake, green snake, they meet, and where do they meet? They meet on the broken bridge. So this broken bridge on West Lake is very important, because many of these things which happen in the story, they all happen on the broken bridge. So the bridge is not broken, but it's called a broken bridge. So why is it called a broken bridge? This is one of my questions. I ask people, why is it called a broken bridge? Went on the internet and looked, and no good explanation as to why it is called a broken bridge. But in the story, always it is emphasized, broken bridge over West Lake. If I'm speaking too fast, please ask me, I will repeat. So here you have your first meeting. It's very important. You see, it's on the lake, it's on the broken bridge. And it is raining. This is also very important. When she meets him, she immediately falls in love from far. And to find some excuse to meet him, she makes rain and thunder. So he has his umbrella, immediately offers his umbrella, and that's how they meet and fall in love. So, okay. And then they're married, they're happy, they start a pharmacy, they start a shop selling medicines, herbal medicines, traditional medicines. They're happy, but this monk Fahai poisons the mind of the husband Susyan and asks her during the Dragon Boat Festival. You just celebrated a few days ago. End of May, Dragon Boat Festival. He gives her wine to drink, and she's a snake. So she drinks this wine and she cannot control it. She becomes a snake temporarily. So he sees the snake, he is shocked, he dies. So it's very important. This is about death. This story is about death and rebirth. So it is very important, not just in Taoism, and in Buddhism, Buddhist Tantricism. It's also very important in Indian religion, death and rebirth. In many religions. So he dies. So she's very unhappy because she loves him very much. So what she does? She goes to Kunlun mountain, because there is the herb of immortality. So she goes there, and these two guardians, they want to prevent her, but this old man, actually, he's the real master. So this is on Kunlun mountain. So he actually secretly wants to help her. So there is a fight, and she manages to steal And then finally he comes, he was not there, he comes back and he says, okay, no, let her go. So he comes back and she revives him. Okay. And then this scene is Shanghai. So this is very interesting. So they are happy. She's also pregnant, she's expecting a child. But Shanghai, the monk from Jinshan mountain, he's Albert, he's the Chan master. So he's not happy. So what he does, he kidnaps.
水漫金山嘛，花海，是吧？南京。
So he kidnaps Suxian, kidnaps him, you see here, kidnaps him, takes him to Jinshan Golden Mountain Temple. We were just there yesterday, we visited the temple on the Yangtze. So what she does, she kidnaps him and makes him a monk. She makes the husband into a monk. So White Snake and Green Snake come to save him from Shanghai. And you see, they call the Yangtze to help them. So you see all this army of crabs and fishes and snails, and so there is a army of water animals. And they come to fight with Shanghai. But the problem is, she is pregnant, and so she is not so strong. See?
断桥相会，
She's not so strong because she's
在
pregnant.
杭州的断桥相会，这次春晚用了很长时间啊。
So Shanghai defeats her, and you see she runs back to the broken bridge. We are back at the broken bridge. You see a broken bridge. She goes back, she meets him for the last time at the broken bridge. So this one, Green Snake, she's very angry with the husband. She wants to actually kill the husband because he's not faithful to her. But White Snake prevents her. And so what happens then? Shanghai arrives and he imprisons her at the bottom of this. This is Lake and Pagoda.
关在这个雷峰塔里面。
So he imprisons her at the bottom of the pagoda, and she gives the child, just born child. And this is a very special child. She is a snake, mother is a snake, but she has given birth to a very special, very intelligent child, and the name is actually Sumenja, which means dream dragon. Dream dragon, right? So he gives the child to the husband, and this guy Shanghai puts her at the bottom of, so he's imprisoned there. Then, when the child grows up, this is the last one. So when the child grows up, he is the top Confucian scholar in the country. He tops all the exams, so he has Confucian power in it, the power of the
他有
human
个小
being.
孩，生了个小孩，小孩长大了，成了一个孔夫子了。
So he comes and he comes to the tower and he pleads. So he comes to the tower and he pleads, please free my mother. And actually they don't show, while he is pleading, the green snake comes back from Mount Eme. See, when the two snakes were defeated, green snake went back to Mount Eme and she became perfect. She did more meditation, became perfect, and she comes back as a green dragon. See, the snake has become a dragon. She's perfected. So he comes back as a green dragon, and White Snake's son, Sumenjo, the dream dragon, together they destroy the pagoda. You see, the pagoda is destroyed. Actually, the pagoda is destroyed many times. The last time it was destroyed was 1924. So people are used to the pagoda being destroyed and rebuilt. So this is Sumenjo. Here the two snakes reunited and Suxian. Okay. So, excuse me. You know the story quite well. So what is the main structure of the story? What is the central main structure of the story? In your opinion?
You mean
What is it that when people hear the story, what is the main thing that they keep in their mind.
Yeah, they will think.
There are many details.
Yeah, but they will stand in the side of Xu Xian and the white snake, and they will think Fa Hai, and he presented Buddhism is not a very good. Evil.
Yes, he's hypocrite.
And they hope their family can be together.
Together.
Yeah.
This is more recent. Nowadays, everybody supports white snake. Even in America, when people read the story, everybody supports white snake. You know, they support the women, they support the animals, etc.
Yeah.
But in earlier times, people used to support Fa Hai. Also, a lot of people used to support Fa Hai before, because they say this is a demon, this is a snake. You see, what's her name? Bai Suzhen never told her husband she's a snake. Whenever something, she always lies. She loves her husband very much.
Yes.
See, and she's afraid if she says, I am a snake, he will leave her. So, but he never told right till the end. At the end, he finds out he is a snake. Then she says, okay, I don't care. Even if she's a snake, she's a beautiful wife and she's a very loyal wife. I don't care if she's a snake. But by that time, it is too late. Right?
Yeah.
So, the main opposition in the story is the opposition between Fa Hai and Bai Suzhen. Yes? So people take sides. Some people take Fa Hai side, and some people take Bai Suzhen side. And if you look at the story very carefully, it's very difficult to take sides because the characters are inconsistent. Because Fa Hai is actually trying to help Xu Xian because he knows she's a snake. Fa Hai has he's a very advanced monk. So that's why he can see who is. Even before Fa Hai meets the white snake, just by looking at Xu Xian, he can tell there is something wrong. This Xu Xian is under some kind of demonic influence. Even before he meets the snake, he can recognize something is wrong. There is a very similar story in Greece, ancient Greece. It's called the Lamia story. Actually, this story is all across Asia. You know, it has been retained in Greece. It's a famous story, Lamia. So there is a very similar story where the holy man and the serpent snake, where the holy man sees that his disciple, just looking at the disciple, he sees that something is wrong. Then on the day of the wedding, he comes and stops the marriage and shows that this is a snake. So this is not just a Chinese or Indian story. So this is the core oppositional side for me. Okay. White snake revolves around the conflict between a Buddhist monk, Fa Hai, and snake between beautiful woman who marries an unsuspecting Taoist healer, Xu Xian. So audiences, all of us, we take sides. Just now you took the side of white snake. Some people take the side of Fa Hai. I take both the sides because I think the story is different meaning. Okay? Because people just look at this conflict, they have not seen in the story is hidden many very interesting details. So one very interesting detail is the calendar. If you look at the story, all the important events appear during a certain festival, Chinese festival. So why does it happen during this festival? So this has not been explained by any scholar till now. For example, the day they meet. Do you know what was the festival of the day when they met together? When Xu Xian met Bai Suzhen, what festival was it? That first day when they met on the bridge. It was the tomb sweeping. You know the tomb sweeping, what is it called in Chinese?
Tomb sweeping.
Tomb sweeping, sweeping the tomb. Grave, sweeping the grave.
清明啊，
清明
扫墓，
清明. Qingming. So they meet, the day they meet is Qingming festival. Yes, because the day they meet, Xu Xian has gone to the grave of his ancestors, he has swept the grave, and he's on his way home. That's when he meets the snake. So you see there's very precise day when he meets. And the day the pagoda is destroyed is also during Qingming festival. You see, it's like a cycle. The story starts with Qingming and ends with Qingming festival. And in between you have Dragon Boat festival. So the day he dies is the Dragon. And you know the Dragon Boat festival is also connected with death, right? So death, person who committed suicide, the great hero. So the Dragon festival connected with death, and that's the day when Suicide dies. The day they meet, after this Bai Suzhen escapes from Shanghai and they meet again on the bridge for a short time, that festival is Qixi festival. Valentine's Day, when people get married. See? And then the day when
好像七夕是吧？
Qixi,
鹊桥相会。
so you see there is a connection with all the important festivals. And the day she gives birth, is on the 15th day of the 12th lunar month, full moon day of the 12th lunar month, which is a very important in the Taoist calendar. It is not important in the public festival, but it is very important in the Taoist. She gives birth on that particular day. So you see, the story is a very, very clear, detailed structure. People just ignore that because they're all thinking about Baha'i and Bai Suzhen. So as I said, there are lots of, because you're a religious studies institute, so this is actually a very deeply religious story. It's not just and all these religious ideas in the story have just been ignored and not been explained, and especially later on in the Chinese opera, because this story is performed in many different kinds of Chinese opera. It is said very clearly that because of this, that at the end of the story, the three teachings have been reconciled. See? That the three teachings have been reconciled. How when the three teachings have been reconciled? If you look at the story, Baha'i is Buddhist, he's fighting with Bai Suzhen, who's Taoist, and then there is a son, Su Minjiang. So how are the three teachings reconciled? So that so why is it said like this in the opera? See? And as you know, this story was very popular and a favorite with the Qianlong Emperor. When the Qianlong Emperor came to the south, he saw this, he was so impressed, he took the whole opera back to Beijing, and on his mother's,
建隆皇帝放在江南。
he had it performed for his mother. Qianlong was very attached to his mother. So on the 80th anniversary of his mother, he had this opera performed for her. And Qianlong was a very
好像有一出戏啊，opera。
And Qianlong was a very ardent Buddhist. He was practicing Buddhist. He knew Sanskrit. He studied Sanskrit under Tibetan Lama. He was studying Sanskrit as Tantra. So, and Fahai looked so bad in the story, so how come Qianlong liked the story so much? So you have to ask these kinds of questions. Is it just because he appreciated opera? Is it just because he likes theatre? Or is it because he saw something more? I don't know. But so what I want to show is that the story is so strange because there are four different perspectives in the story. If you look at the story, there is not actually one story, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 stories. And all the 4 stories are in the same story. And now I will explain what I mean. Okay? I spent a lot of time thinking about this because I have studied very similar things in India. So, it's not that difficult. Okay. Why do I say it is a religious story? Because you know the story, but what happened before the story? See, like if you watch movies nowadays, you see all these series, There is what is called a prequel, something which happens before the story, and then something which happens after the story. So this, what happens before the story and what happens after the story, they help to explain what is in the main story. So before the story, there is a prequel. Prequel is like what happens before. So this prequel, what it shows is that white snake, the real meaning about white snake is about the Taoist quest for immortality. We have this in India also, So this is a Taoist quest for immortality. We have very similar in Buddhism, in both Indian and Chinese Buddhism. It's a quest for enlightenment, Quest for enlightenment. And why? And how do we know this? It's very explicit. We don't have to guess. It's very explicit. So in the prequel, Liu Dongbin, the immortal, he disguises himself as a seller of Tang Yuan. You know the sticky rice balls? So he is selling these rice balls where? On the broken bridge. So this is very important, where he is selling these sticky rice balls. On the pill, we have to understand what is the meaning of the bridge, because the bridge has a deep meaning. So he is selling this at the broken bridge on West Lake in Hangzhou. So what happens? So this Xu Xian, who is just a small boy, he comes. At that time, he is still a young boy. He comes and he buys this Tang Yuan. But actually, this Tang Yuan is not Tang Yuan. It is immortality pills. See? So he eats this. He buys, eats it, and then he doesn't feel hungry for 3 days. So he doesn't know what is happening to him. So he comes back. So he comes back to Liu Dongbin. So he goes back to Liu Dongbin and asks, what is happening? Why I am not hungry for 3 days? So Liu Dongbin doesn't answer him. What he does, he laughs. So it's very important, laughing, because you have seen the Buddha, laughing Buddha. In India, China, all over the world, when somebody laughs very loudly, it has a meaning. I will come back to that meaning. Not only he laughs very loudly, he turns him upside down by the feet, holds him by the feet upside down, over the leg, shakes him, and the Tang Yuan drops. And he drops, and he vomits the Tang Yuan into the lake. Okay? So this is explaining what is the lake, what is it really, what is this Tang Yuan is about. So Xu Xian ate the Tang Yuan, but he cannot digest it. He's not ready for it. So it goes into the lake. But in the lake is the white snake. Okay? So the white snake is in the lake, and she has been practicing Taoism there for thousands of years in the lake. So what she does is and the pills fall out from his mouth, they go into the lake, and she swallows it. And she gains the power that of the Taoist pills, okay? They get around it with the power. And in the same lake is a turtle, terrapin. So he is also training in the lake. But he doesn't get any of these pills. So he becomes very jealous of the white snake. So this later becomes Sahai. So you see, this is making fun of us. So if you take this prequel, so now let us ask again, what is the meaning of the white snake story? So if you take this prequel, what does it tell us? Do you have any suggestion from this prequel? Do you have any suggestions what may be the meaning of the main story?
Sutra is one of the snake, and all of the snake are about the choice of Krishna for the immortality. All of the animals in China are about the choice, the quest for immortality.
Immortality,
yeah,
yes.
Not only the white snake. Agreed.
There's turtle also.
Because the Chinese people will think of the animals, of the people about the choice of quest for the immortality.
Yes, No, but in this particular story, because this is the prequel for this particular story. So what the story, from my understanding, what the story says is Suxian as a boy, he has some kind of experience of some kind of a spiritual experience, but he is not ready for it. See, there is an immortality pill, but he is not ready for it. So so who has the pill? It is White Snake which has the pill. So now, for Su Xian to have this experience, he has to meet White Snake again, right? So this is what this is telling us. That Su Xian had some experience as a boy, but as an adult, when he becomes older and is an adult, and he's a pharmacist, he sells medical herbs, so he has a kind of Taoist background. All his herbal medicine is very related to Taoism. You know? So in order for him to actually now get the real experience, he has to get it from White Snake. But why White Snake? Okay? So this is a prequel. Right? So it's very important to, so when I read the prequel, I said, this is what this story is about. And even at that time when I looked at the story in Leaping Pagoda, I didn't know all this. All this I discovered much later. So now I want to retell the story quickly. What time is it? Do we have enough? Am I running out of time?
Yes.
Tem nog los, no?
Okay, good. I have. So now I want to tell you the story again, but from a deeper hidden perspective. The way I read the story. Okay? So I will tell you the story quickly, and whenever something is important I want you to notice, I will say. Okay? So this question is, so the White Snake has done so many thousands of years of Taoist practice. Now she arrives in the world, in the human world, to get liberation. But as soon as Guan Yin has told her, go there, become a human being, then you will get liberation. But as soon as she arrives, she gets involved in human passions. She gets involved in love, human love. So this is strange. Somebody does thousands of years of practice, and then comes the very first day, she forgets everything. You know? So there is a deeper meaning. So maybe her relationship with Su Xian is actually something to do with attaining immortality. For me, this is quite obvious. So she performed thousands of years of austerity in Mount Hemei. She's asked by Goddess of Mercy Kuan Yin to be reborn as human. She wants to be liberated, she wants salvation, she must be reborn as human. This is also in Indian tradition. If somebody wants to get liberation, they have to take on human life. So she and her younger sister, green or blue snakes, Xiao-Qing? Yes. So suddenly, what is the meaning of this younger sister? This is also important. Why there are two snakes? Why not just one snake? You know, white snake, good enough. Why white snake and green? Sometimes it means green, sometimes it means blue. So actually, the importance is white and black, white and dark. So the snake has two sides, dark side and white side. You know, like human beings, they have a good side and they have a hidden dark side. So the snake comes in a pair. So they meet on the tomb sweeping day. So I told you it's very important. They meet on tomb sweeping day on the broken bridge. And Su Xian, now he's an adult. He's coming back after doing all his rituals for his ancestors. Tomb sweeping day, Qingming. So that's very important. Then sudden rain. She makes this rain. It's very important because in Chinese tradition, very often the rain and thunder is a metaphor for union. You know, if you look at other stories. So he lends them his umbrella. They fall in love, and immediately White Snake wants him to marry, and he also falls in love. So they marry. So it's very interesting. Now this is also very interesting. So why are there two snakes? So the next night, they get married. He goes to take back his umbrella, but instead the green snake says, why don't you marry my elder sister? She's in love with you. So he says, okay, I like her too. They marry. And the same night, so he remains in their house. And while they are having a marriage union, green snake is going and stealing silver from the municipal treasury. So this is interesting, right? The white snake is uniting with Susian. So while that same night, while they are uniting, the green snake is stealing silver. So if we accept that the green snake and the white snake are actually one snake, then there is some kind of a theft involved in the consummation of the union. And this is also a very important point, not just in China, but in India, in Greece. There is always some kind of a liquid, ambrosia. In India it is called the soma. Okay? So here, so there is a kind of immortality elixir from Kunlun mountain, but it always has to be stolen. It is never given to you. See, she has to go to Kunlun mountain and she has to steal it. So here also stealing. So there is this idea that this immortality you have to steal it. You cannot get it in like a normal way. Oh, please give this to me. You are my master. I am a disciple. No, you have to go and steal it. So this is there in the initiation rituals in many different traditions. In Greece, here, in South America, in China, India. So this is an important point. So what she has stolen, that all that silver, is used to start an independent pharmacy, medicine shop, which does very well because Bai Sujian knows a lot about herbs, more than Susian. The real person behind the shop is actually Bai Sujian because she's the one who knows all the herbs. So when the theft is discovered, they put this husband. The husband is innocent, but they put him in prison in Suzhou. Send him to Suzhou. Okay. And this is very important. You said just now that Pahai is a bad guy. But if you read the story very carefully, have any of you seen this movie, 2019 movie, The Legend of White Snake? It's a beautiful movie in 36 episodes. Have you seen it? We have all the Chinese top actors who are acting in this movie. 36 episodes on the web. And you see that even before Pahai arrives, because this marriage is a very unnatural marriage between a snake and a human being. So slowly, Susian is losing his vital energy, even before Pahai appears. So this is important. And that is why when Pahai, hears about this theft and all, and Pahai has got this kind of, he's able to see things, hidden things. So when he comes to the pharmacy and at that time Bai Sujian is not there, he sees Susian, he already knows there's something wrong with Susian. See? That Susian is losing his vital energy. So that is why he wants to save him actually in the story. So Bai Sujian loves Susian very much, but the marriage is having a bad effect on Susian. So this is very clear in the movie. People are Bai Sujian's companions and even her sister are advising her, he's going to die, to stick to this marriage. And Bai Sujian never tells Susian who she is, or explains who she is. And in fact, she lies. Whenever he has some suspicion, then she doesn't know. So she's constantly lying about the background. So Pahai, abbot of Golden Mountain, this is also important, Jin Chan. Why is this temple called Golden Mountain, Jin Chan? If you go to, we just were there yesterday, the temple is actually like a mountain. You have to go up. So one temple after the other, it's actually like a mountain just beside the Yangtze River. Okay? And why is it called Golden Mountain? A lot of Taoist ideas are hidden in it. comes to invest. So he comes from there, from Shanghai to investigate. And he just looks at the husband and he realizes that he is under some kind of a charm or a spell. So he persuades Suxian to give his wife wine, Riyaga wine, during the Dragon Boat Festival. This is also very important. This happens during the Dragon Boat Festival. So the wife goes back, becomes snake, husband dies of shock, I already explained. Then she goes to the Kublin mountain to steal the elixir of immortality. So you see the prequel with Lu Dongbin was about immortality. And this is the same thing happening in the main story. The main difference is now we are told in the story for Suxian to get immortality, he has to die. So this notion of death and resurrection is very central in all these rituals of initiation. In Taoism, in Buddhism, in India, in Greece, in many other traditions. The person who wants immortality he has to die and be reborn. So this is the question. Why does Suxian have to die before he can consume the elixir of immortality? So there's another question too. So first he has to die, and then he has to get the Buddhist ordination. See? Pahai kidnaps him, takes him to Zhenjiang and makes him a monk. See? So this is very important step in this whole story of getting immortality. See? In the story it's like a kidnapping, but in fact this is it. And in fact, when you put on the robes, Buddhist robes here or in India, or even if you put on Hindu, if you are a Hindu monk, when you become a monk, you are like a dead man. You know, it's a death. Okay. Yes. So you are like a dead man. So this is very important. The Buddhist ordination, becoming a monk, and dying to the world, and then, okay, he kidnaps him. And you saw that just now they tried to free him with the flood. And what is the meaning of this flood? This is another question. There is this flood, many people drown, and just this mountain is there, and it is called the Golden Mountain. What is the meaning of it? Why does this need to happen for him to get immortality? Okay, she's no longer mad. We meet again on Xian on Valentine's Day, Chishi. And as you know, this Chishi has its own story, which is also related to a bridge, right? Bridge of magpies. And they are supposed to meet once a year. So you see the two stories have a connection. It's not accident. The meaning of this story helps to explain the Chishi story. And the Chishi story helps to explain this story. The big difference is the Chishi story is in the sky, on the Milky Way, not here. Here it is more about initiation, but actually the two stories are very similar. So she starts giving birth on the 15th day of the 12th month to a child prodigy whom Xian names Dream Dragon, Su Mentor. Okay? And then by the New Year's Day, she is hoping to have a happy life with the child and the husband. But then Pahai comes, and what he does is he puts that bowl. He has a golden bowl, begging bowl. He uses a bowl for begging. So this bowl has very deep meaning even in Indian context. The bowl has like magical power. The monk has a bowl and he has a staff. So these two things have great power even in the Indian context. So overpowers her with his bowl. So he puts his bowl over her, and she becomes a small snake, coil snake, like this coil, snake. And then he puts that coil snake at the bottom of Lefen Pagoda. Okay? So what is the meaning of the pagoda? Is there a snake at the bottom of the pagoda? Have you heard of a snake, coil snake at the bottom of the pagoda? Have you heard of this possibility? Thunder Peak Pagoda. Okay, now there is a sequel also. Okay. Yeah, you told me. Okay. Now let's look at the sequel. So after many years, Meng Jiao comes and he stops the imperial service, arrives at Leiping to plead for his mother's release. And he is such a strong character, Confucian character, he's full of humanity, that when he requests, the whole of nature starts responding to him. At the same time, when he asks this, green reappears, green dragon. Notice the symbolism of the dragon. Meng Jiao is a dragon, and he's a green dragon, and the snake also has become a dragon, and she reappears, and she burns down the pagoda, and now she frees her sister, and the sister, Bai comes out, acknowledges her son, and goes to heaven. So this also again happens on Tomb Sweeping Day. So you have a big calendrical cycle. The whole story is set to a calendrical cycle. So another thing they say is, just like he was very jealous in the pond, Fahai, he goes into a crab, and you can still see in the crab this yellow, when you break the crab, so this yellow is his robes. So making fun of it. So can this be a Buddhist story when he's making fun of a Buddhist monk? Is it possible? But you will find very similar, because I will explain about it. So now, why is the sequel there? So, some people say, because the story is so sad, the story about White Snake is so sad, that later on, some people have added this about the son to have a happy ending. Some people, they want a happy ending to the story, and so this is added. But it's very clear from the details that this is not, this is not just something added to the story. It's part of the meaning of the real story. This is what I am claiming. So, okay, now I'll take about 10-15 minutes more. Have you heard of this word Kundalini? In Indian Tantricism?
Yes.
Searching about continuing.
The snake power.
Exactly, the snake power. And Kundalini means she who is coiled. Is coiled like this. So at the bottom of our spine is a serpent. And it is called Kundalini. And this serpent is like coiled. It is coiled, it is sleeping. The serpent is sleeping. So the aim of the practice in Buddhist Tantricism and Hindu Tantricism is, is to make this serpent wake up. To wake up the serpent, and for the serpent to go up the spine. See? It goes up the spine and it unites with our consciousness. So this serpent is like something sleeping, unconscious, at the bottom of the lake, And then it goes up and it unites with our consciousness. So that is the practice of Kundalini. So this is like a marriage. See? The person, the monk or whoever who is practicing this, it's like a marriage between his serpent rising up, and getting married to his own consciousness. See? So this practice. The question for me, as soon as I saw this story on Leiping Pagoda, I said, oh, this is about Kundalini. What is it doing here? Why is this here? And then, so this is what I am going to try and give you an explanation at the end when you ask questions. See, our tragic heroine is the coiled snake Kundalini at the base of the spine. And this snake has memory, not just your memory, but the memory of the whole ancestral line. See? Because when you're born, when you're born, you grow up, you already forget what happened to us when we were 3 years old or 2 years old or childhood. But it has an ancestral memory. So this is why this happens on Tomb Sweeping Day. Tomb Sweeping Day is when you honor your ancestors. And actually in Chinese thought, or even in Indian thought, your ancestors are not some other people. The ancestors are part of you. They are living through you. And they will continue to live through your descendants. So there is a continuity. If you look at it from a modern biological point of view, it's like your genes, you know. We have so many genes. Most of the genes are not new. They're coming from our ancestors, right? So it's a kind of an ancestral memory. So this is there in Indian culture and in Taoist thinking also. So as I said just now, the final, when she goes back to the bottom of the spine, the pagoda is like the spine. See? The pagoda is actually the Indian stupa, right? The Indian stupa has become the pagoda in China. So it's always connected with death because in the stupa there is some kind of relic. In the Leifing pagoda it is the Buddha's hair. They discovered casket, Ashoka stupa inside. So, so it starts and ends with
这个清明的来历就是发海，把白素贞打成圆形，然后变成个最后那一天，就是清明节的来源了。哎。
So this also explains. So now we look at the prequel. The boy had some experience, but he was not ready for the experience. Now we are seeing how he is actually achieving that experience. So it is by marrying the serpent. Actually the serpent is inside him, but you know it's explained. It's like a story, a beautiful story. So he has awakened this ancestral serpent. And that's how he is transcending the human condition. So why West Lake and the broken bridge? What does the broken bridge mean? Any idea?
断桥什么意思？为啥断桥？
When you are born, is there a bridge?
It's a broken pipe.
It's an umbilical cord. How are you? See, the West Lake is like the maternal consciousness, the mother, the lake.
Oh.
In all traditions, rivers, not just lakes, also
mother
rivers.
goes, yeah.
See, like Ganga in India, it's a mother.
Yeah.
That's why people go and bathe in the Ganga, it's so sacred, it's a mother, you know.
Mm.
Similar with the Nile, Euphrates, not just in, you know, it's all over the world. So, when this undergoes this union with the snake, he is actually going back to the state of an embryo. You see, in Taoism, you have this embryonic breathing, right? You breathe, you become an embryo, you become before you were born, go back to the womb, and then you are reborn, you are rejuvenated. This idea is very central in India and even in the Vedic tradition. So it goes back to the embryonic state. So the snake is like the ancestral psyche, maternal psyche, and the lake is the womb. See, in the womb there is water, right? Amniotic water, the baby is in the water, floating in the water. So, the womb. So what is the broken bridge? It is the broken umbilical cord. See, the baby is actually part of the mother, and when it is born, it is cut, and this is a traumatic experience. When the baby is born, it is a traumatic, and that's why you're crying. It's a traumatic experience. So, the part of this Taoist practice and the Tantric practice is to actually go back over the bridge. You see, Qi is likewise based on the tragic love. This aspect of the story is the same in Qi and White Slave. So this is I'm explaining a bit about Qi. Why do Chinese people prefer to get married on the day of the Qi? When they register to get married, I read some article in Global Times actually with pictures. Now let's go on. So this going back to the womb in the lake. See what happens in Zhenjiang? In Zhenjiang, the whole mountain becomes like a mountain in the Yangtze. The same thing is happening. The Yangtze River, West Lake, going back into the waters. So why is it called Golden Temple? Because golden womb. The Taoist idea is that the golden embryo. The golden That's what the disciple wants. And the disciple and master have become one. When this happens, Suxian is already become a monk and he's with Fahai. So actually, and it transforms it into, like the womb, in the waters of the womb. So this is very important because we are seeing like Fahai is a bad guy. But actually there is only one person in this story. There is only one person, in my opinion, he has been split into three people. He has been split into Fahai, Suxian, and into Sumenja. I will explain. So here it is very clear. So like in the 2019 web series, the movie, the series I talked to you about, actually what happens is Suxian is put in a cauldron and there's a fire underneath and he's being scorched. He's being like burnt in a cauldron. And the reason is, they say that he's possessed by the mind demon. Now the demon is not the snake, the demon is the mind. So he's trying to get rid of the mind demon. Because the mind is the problem in Buddhism. You have to quieten the mind, kill the mind. Then you get enlightenment. So while he is trying to exhaust, scorching him in a cauldron, that's when the water is sent. Fire and water. So this scenario is also very typical in Indian mythology. Fire and water. Fire and then water to extinguish it. So this is how these ideas are. So for example, there's a very famous episode in the Mahabharata where the fire god appears, burns up the forest, and there is a pregnant snake, and there is a snake which wants to save her son, so she swallows her son, so the mother dies and the snake is saved. And then the whole forest, the fire is put off by the rainbow, So this is something also very familiar. Similarly in India, Benares, Varanasi, the holy city, during the monsoon season, so here it is the snakes who do it in Shanghai. During the monsoon season, in ancient times, the Ganga used to flood and it used to transform, the whole city becomes a small island. The city and the population becomes a small island. And this is considered very auspicious. That's why people do special ritual. And it is called the fish womb conjunction. So I'm trying to show that there are these parallels here. So, and you see again when they first met, it was similar because it was raining very heavily. They're surrounded with water, right? And thunder. So you saw that happening in Zhenjiang as well. Okay. So nowadays when people read these stories, they just look at it as, oh, okay, in ancient China, feudal China, women were treated very badly, so this story wants to defend women's rights. So during the Cultural Revolution also, the white slave story was promoted as defending women's rights against feudal values. Similarly, feminism, equality of man and animals, etc. So because of this, they have missed all these important details have been missed by scholars. There's a very important book which came out recently by a Chinese scholar living in the US. Her name is Yang Yao, big book, very good book, but it is written from this perspective. But from the point of view from which I come, the notion of spiritual practice or sacrality, what I call transgressive sacrality, the way it works is the person wants liberation. So to attain liberation, he first goes up, he becomes like a monk. He goes away from the world. He avoids women. He's completely in meditation. So he purifies himself. And this is what is happening in the Golden Mountain. And then he descends and he, does this kind of, he breaks the rules. And that's how we talk about stealing. That's how he becomes he attains his complete liberation. So ultimately, what has happened in the story is there is only a single hero, a single elder. He has been split into three different figures in order to illustrate the conflict between the three doctrines, the three teachings. First, they want to illustrate this conflict between the three characters, and then to show the resolution. Okay, 5 minutes more. So, white snake and green snake. Why are there two snakes? So the point is, white snake, even when she is a loving wife and very loyal to the husband, her dark side is always there. And this dark side, that is why she is constantly followed by green snake. Whenever something bad she needs to do, green snake does it for her. And there is some kind of competition between the two snakes. If you watch, always there is some kind of competition. This is because the snake has two sides. It has a good side, pure side, and a dark side. So internally itself, there is a kind of competition. So this we already saw. And the reason at the beginning that Lu Dongbing is laughing, so generally monks don't laugh, and then hold their hand upside down, is to say that there is this aspect, there is this dark aspect to the religious practice. So another thing is, in India, where the spine, the snake has to go up the spine. The breathing, in breathing and out breathing are represented as two snakes. Solar snake, lunar snake, for example, two snakes, and they have to unite and then they go up the spine. So that's another reason why there are two snakes. So this tantric union is based on the death of the mind demon, which you saw just now. And the hero, the adept Christian, has to die. And the other thing is, on this day, at the Leifing Pagoda, when the pagoda is destroyed, on Tomb Sweeping Day, on that day it is very clearly said that the pagoda is like a graveyard. See, the pagoda is assimilated to a graveyard. As I said, there is relic, right? It's a stupa and the relic, it's tied up with the death and the death of the Buddha. Forget about it. Okay, and this is the final slide. So this is a very strange idea, so please bear with me. So the idea is, during this kind of a union with the snake, the person who is undergoing this union, as I said, you go back to the womb, and you give birth to yourself. You give birth to yourself. So you're actually reborn. So the son and you and the son are the same. This is also a very central idea in in Indian Tantricism and in Vedicism as well. The father is reborn as the son. But here in a spiritual meaning. So you have this very strange idea that this great Confucian, top Confucian scholar, his mother is the snake. How do you explain that? So it's very much tied up with this. Okay. Why is the pagoda destroyed? Because the pagoda is no longer necessary. The body itself is the pagoda, and the person has already accomplished. And my wife and I, Elizabeth, we studied this person called 10th century sage, philosopher, the most important thinker in India, his name is Buddha. So we specialize in him. And he says very clearly, he has written a lot on Tantra, and he says, I am born of the yogini. I am born of the yogini. So who is this yogini? So the yogini is not actually his mother. It doesn't mean that his mother was a great spiritual person. He was born actually during sexual union, actually practice, tantric practice, like you have in Taoism as well. and he has given birth to himself through this practice. So this is the actual meaning. So that's the reason when I saw these things in Leiping Pagoda, I immediately said, oh, this is very, very familiar. Okay, forget that. And as I said, cycle of festivals. And actually the day she actually gives birth is, how do you pronounce this? La Yue Shu. It's a Taoist festival. Huh? Have you heard of this festival? 15th day of the 12th month. So it's near the end of the year.
The end of the month.
And middle of the month.
Middle of the month.
Yes, last month. Last month of the
middle
year.
of the last month of the year.
Yes. So you see, the other three festivals are all public festivals. So this one is actually more like a private festival. So as I said, this has been completely overlooked. And now there's 3 diagrams. So actually when you look at the story, there are 4 points of view. So this is Pahai's point of view. From Pahai's point of view, when we look at the story through the eyes of Pahai, we see the snake is a demon, Susian householder. So here, Pahai wants to bring Susian there. He wants to take Susian there. So Confucian restraint and Buddhist detachment. So he wants to separate these two. See, Susian is here, demonic snake. So he wants to break this. So this is an unnatural union. And between the snake and Pahai, there is a opposition, only opposition. Now look at this through the eyes point of view of Bai Sujian's point of view. She is completely faithful to Susian, no? Confucian marital fidelity. So she sees Pahai as a kind of very repressive, bad, evil guy. He's just trying to destroy their happiness, right? So repressive, ego. And then he's just persecuting her. She has not, Bai Sujian, the snake, has not done anything to Pahai. Has not done anything wrong. But he is constantly going after her. So this is the way the public sees it through Bai Sujian's eyes. Now when you look at it through Susian's eyes, when the public looks at it through Susian's eyes, they see Susian as a person who is going this way, then this way, then this way. He's not sure what he wants. See, on the one side, he wants to be married. He has a beautiful wife. So he's attached to his wife, he's brought to his wife. Other side, he's going and following what Monk Pahai tells him to do, he's coming to do. So he's a split person, he doesn't know. He's going 2 different ways. So when we look at the story through Susian, we see that Pahai and Bai Sujian, there cannot be any reconciliation. But if you look at it now this way, this is the way I look at this story. This is the last slide. You see what happens is, here is Susian. He wants to be a Taoist master. See, I can send you the slides. Don't need to take. I can send it to you. So he wants to be a immortality. That was what happened during the prequel with Lu Dongwin. So what happened? In order to get this, he first needs to go here. So he goes up. He gets his monastic ordination. I call this the ascending realization. He has to purify himself. He has to avoid sexual desire, etc. He renounces the world, and then he breaks it. He goes down. What I call the descending realization. And then he is reborn as his own son, Su Mengjiao. Susian becomes Su Mengjiao. Yeah. See? That is why when you look at the story, at the end of the story, Susian suddenly disappears. Where did he go? He's still there as Su Mengjiao. Okay? And now, okay, faster. Then we can ask all the questions. Okay, this is it. So, so what has this story really done? What has it achieved? So in China you have Confucianism, you have Taoism. There are 2 distinct traditions. And then Buddhism came. And there was a great deal of hostility, both from the Confucian side and also from the Taoist side. Okay? So as I mentioned just before the Southern Song period, because I think this whole story is very tied up with Southern Song. At that time the capital was Linan, Hangzhou. So, Huizong persecution, and the scholars were all, just like now in China, we are very worried about religious harmony. I think here also you're worried about bringing the religion. And at that time too, there was this problem. So, these people collaborated. There was a collaboration. See, the Confucian scholars in the imperial court, Southern Song imperial court, they perform all their duties. They retired. Many of these scholars, they went to Sichuan because there was a pilgrimage route. So they went to Mount Emei, and they started living in small hermitage, small huts, and they started practicing Taoism. So Confucianism and Taoism are not completely different, While you are in the world, you are feeling your social responsibility, you behave like a Confucian, you follow the Confucian rules. But once you are retired, you allow all your artistic side, calligraphy, painting, it's more spontaneous. Taoism is more spontaneous. So they are not completely different. It's the same as Buddhism thing. So what has happened now is that Tantric Buddhism, which is not the same as the Orthodox Buddhism as you see. They are related, but they are also opposed. So what has happened now is the notion of Tao as totality. The Confucianism accepts Tao, but they say that they acknowledge the Tao, but you have to go through the world. You want to be a perfect human being, you have to fulfill your social responsibility. That is the way to be a good Zen. Okay, in the Taoist one, the Tao is something different. You have to find your Tao inside by becoming spontaneous. And then you have Buddhist enlightenment, Bodhi. So through this triangle, through these three characters, we see this Tao as a totality. Confucian and Taoist Tao have become indistinguishable from Buddhist enlightenment. The three teachings are reconciled. Confucian, Su Mingjiao's humanity Zen, outside he's a Confucian, but inside he has also achieved what the Taoists want to achieve in the story. See? So there's a reconciliation. So the reconciliation is for people who know how to read the story. If you read the story just from the outside, they are still fighting, right? Okay. So I will stop here. I'm sorry I took so long. Okay. I have more stories. So I'm sure you will ask me, you can ask me so many questions. When did this happen? Why did this happen in Hangzhou? Why during this period, etc., etc. A lot of questions to answer. I've already started answering some of them, but I want to stop here so that we have a conversation. That's what's most important. Thank you so much for listening so patiently.
Yeah. 重点还是研究印度。
See, I have actually 24 questions here. You can easily ask me. Questions to be addressed. These are questions I ask myself. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was late. And you said earlier that it was a character that relating to three persons. So I was sitting behind here. So who is the third one? We have
Su Mingjiao.
so his son.
Three
Okay.
characters. Yeah, at the end I said no, because Su Xian suddenly disappears at the end of the story, but actually he's still there, Su Mingjiao.
Okay, so he actually reborn through his son.
So he's reborn. He's reborn as his son.
Okay.
Yes, and this idea is very common in India, for example.
And by the way, do you know about the first or the original version of this Baishe, this white snake?
Okay, first, yes, I know. You see, there are earlier stories about a serpent demon having married and all of that. But I think that this story, they may have taken from here or there many things. But this story is completely original. And this story is purely Chinese story. See, I have used many Indian ideas, right, in explaining the Indian, but this story is purely Chinese invention because of the calendar. It is not an Indian calendar. See, and we don't have this exactly the same story. This idea about the snake as serpent, the serpent as kundalini, many of these things about the lake, the water, but all of these are correspondences in Taoism, you know. So if you ask this question, what has Buddhist Tantricism done? Yeah. Because on the one side I can show that almost everything here is Chinese, you know. And from China it has gone to Japan, to Korea, Vietnam, and when the Manchus during the period of Changlong Emperor, he promoted this story a lot. So the Manchus, they love this story. There's a lot. So they completely took over the story and they attach a strong religious meaning to this story, the Manchu banners. So what has the Buddhist Tantricism done? It has made this what I call this transgressive side, this breaking the rules side. That is what it has introduced. And has introduced it in such a way as to reconcile all the three traditions. So that is what is new. And then the problem asked is, how could this have happened? When was this transmitted? And I think this happened around the Southern Song. It has happened around this temple of Lingyin temple, because we know that in Lingyin temple, even during the Yuan dynasty, there were Indian monks living there. Lingyin temple was founded by an Indian monk in 320 and around 326 AD. So it is very strong, and all the geography of the temple is based on India. See, he came here, he recognized the mountain, Feila Plain, the mountain area. So it's all modeled on India, you know, where the Buddha preached. The Buddha preached in a mountain called the Gridhara Kutta, that is to say the Vulture Peak mountain, all of that. So there were Indian monks living there. And we know that the last record is in the Yuan dynasty. So there must have been, the Southern Song period, there must have been Indian Buddhist monks there. And they must have known Chinese, they must have been collaborating. And you know, one interesting thing, this is the same period that we have Jigong, the transgressive monk, because he was trained in Lingyin Si. Yeah, he got his ordination in Lingyin Si. And then his behavior was so strange that he had to go to Jingqi temple.
Yeah, in Hangzhou.
In Hangzhou, yes, just on the south of the lake. We went there 2 days ago. We have been to all these places. We are here because of this story. See, when Professor Wang asked me to go to Hangzhou, I'm sure he never expected all these, these results.
Professor, is there any text basis or historical records about all these Hindu monks there?
About the Hindu monks, yes. Yes, but we don't have any precise records. There may be something in the Lingyin Si archives. I went there and we were just there for a day, and you have to really meet somebody very high to get access to the archive. And I cannot read Chinese. I actually have a very good helper. You know what is his name? His name is Deep Seek. Because he reads Chinese. So when I ask questions, he gave me so much of info. He goes to the archives in Chinese and then translates for me. And it has been, Professor Wang, you know, Deep Seek? Deep Seek is artificial intelligence.
But it tells lies.
Huh?
It tells lies.
So you have to be very careful. You cannot just trust everything it says. Have you used it?
Yeah.
DeepSeek is much better than the American ChatGPT. I actually use it.
Perhaps the
It's
DeepSeek
very
can
helpful.
solve the immortals.
Pardon?
DeepSeek
Yes.
can solve the problem of immortals.
No, the thing is, it has access to so much information immediately. If I do the same research, it's going to take me. I already have these ideas. DeepSeek has only started in May. Last month I started using DeepSeek for this, and the results have been very useful. See, for example, when this festival on the 15th day of the 12th month, the festival I showed you just now, which is giving birth. So I read that she's giving birth on this particular day. So I said, what is the significance? I've never heard, what is the meaning of this? What is the significance of this day in the Chinese calendar? So I asked DeepSeek. So I just saw what this. I didn't say anything about white snake. I said, what is the significance of this day for the Chinese? Then he immediately said, oh, this is not a big public festival, it's not celebrated like that, but it's a very important day. And for your white snake story, blah, blah, blah. So, it already knows I'm working on white snakes. So it has been very helpful. Always very proactive. When I ask a question, it answers the question and tells me much more things. And then it asks me questions. It says, do you want to know more about this? So I advise you, for your research, I would strongly advise you to use DeepSeek. But you have to use it very carefully, because it makes mistakes. And the mistakes are very understandable. Then afterwards, when you ask why it made the mistake, it will explain to you how it made the mistake.
Thank you.
May I ask what you are working on?
What?
What are you working on?
Shankara?
Pardon?
Shanghai.
Vedanta.
Shanghai.
Oh, you're working on Indian
Yeah,
philosophy.
Vedanta.
Shankara Vedanta. Have you heard of Abhinavagupta, the person I spoke about?
I don't think so. That's the problem, you see.
You see,
Sometimes
because-
we know about the Chinese name, but
Yes.
not the Sanskrit word.
Because actually I went to India to study Shankara Vedanta.
新户
Because I actually went to India to study Shankara Vedanta. But after a few years, I learned about Abhinavagupta and I became completely interested in Abhinavagupta. So he's very important. You see, Shankara is important only for philosophy. So Abhinavagupta is now more important than Shankara for philosophy, but he's also the most important person for Tantra, Indian Tantra, and for Buddhists also, because Abhinavagupta knew Buddhism. He was very well disposed to Buddhism. And he has also influenced Buddhism and is very influenced by Buddhism. And he's also the most important person for Indian theatre. See, like the opera, White Snake opera and all of that. So he's not just a philosopher, he's very interested in beauty.
Thank you.
So you may want to take a look.
Yeah, maybe. There are too much to work on.
Are you just starting or are you finishing? Or?
Ongoing.
Ongoing. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I took so long.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You don't have any questions?
Thank you so
Because
much.
I saw you
I
taking
learned
so
so much
many.
from your speech. Thank you so much.
Because I saw you taking so many notes.
I think you see the three teaching reconciled or reunion is very important point because the Song Dynasty is a very historical period for the Sinicization of Buddhism.
Yes.
Yeah, and I can't agree with you more. Thank you so much.
Actually, what he said is very important because there is some professors, scholars in America, especially at Arizona State University, there's a very big project, Hangzhou project. And they are saying that when one studies Buddhism, people are giving too much importance to India. Even when they talk about Chinese Buddhism, they're always talking first about India. Then later on, D.T. Suzuki, Zen Buddhism, they're talking about Japan and India. But actually, the Buddhism that went to China, the Buddhism that spread all over the Far East, it is not Indian Buddhism. is Chinese Buddhism.
Chinese Buddhism.
Yes, it's completely transformed Buddhism to Chan Buddhism, and it's become Zen, and in Korea, Son. So it's very important to see the Chinese tradition as an independent tradition, original tradition. It has taken from India, but it has completely transformed. And you see the white snake story is the same thing. What has happened for Chinese Buddhism has happened for in this white snake story. You can see in miniature, microsecond.
And there is also a temple of joint worship of three teachers in Song Dynasty.
There is a temple?
Joint worship of three teachers in one temple, in the same temple, the sculpture of image of Confucianism and Lao and Buddha, they are side by side.
Oh, where is this temple?
From Song Dynasty.
No, but which city?
Of the world, of the
All of the whole
everyone in
region.
China from Song Dynasty.
From Song Dynasty. Yeah, the
Three
Song
teaching
Dynasty is
temple. The name of three teaching temple.
symbol.
It's
Yes.
also from the period of Song Dynasty. Yeah, I think it's one of the important perspective of Chinese people to push the three teaching really preserve.
During the yes, exactly, and this story fits in. You see, my explanation fits in with that.
Yes.
What happened? Because there was too much fighting and conflict before
Yes.
the period. Even during the Northern Song, there was problem. This Emperor Huizong is a very talented emperor. You know, he knew a lot about pottery and calligraphy and all, but he was a very staunch Taoist. And he went and started converting Buddhist temples to Taoist temples. So only after the Northern Song dynasty fell, they reconverted. Even Jinshan was reconverted to Buddhist temple only at the start of the Southern Song.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope I did not bore you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we profit from your lectures from the different religions, Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, perhaps Hinduism, other one. And then recently, I also strange why Indian approach to the Israeli and Iran war.
Yes.
Different approach. Perhaps I have the religious because
Of course, the
religious influence.
Yes.
And because you see, Israel has more Christian, more Christian. So the Christians, the cross the war, and so why France, Germany, British
Yes,
support Israel?
exactly.
Why Pakistan also very not friend with Iran because recent war.
Mhm.
Iran supported India, but India not support Iran.
Yes,
Because of the religious,
Exactly.
because of the Muslim, Islam,
Exactly.
and there are differences.
In my opinion, India is going the wrong way. You know, India is very pro-Israel, especially this government, Professor Wang. This government is very pro-Israel. So even in the USA, they collaborate a lot with the Israel lobby. The reason is they look at everything Hindu-Muslim issue, and because of that, there is strong anti-Islamic sentiment.
And you see them.
But now they are not very clear. You know, they're not clear. They are not very clear. We can talk about it, Professor Wang. We can talk about it on the 20th. On the 20th, by the other lecture, we can talk about it. And actually, you know, if you remember our friend. You remember our friend, Ambassador Badr Kumar, MK Badr Kumar. He has just written an article He just written an article in his blog saying exactly what you were saying about France,
他
Germany.
说他们这个现在的这个驻华大使写了篇文章，就讲到了我这个问题，就是为什么这个印度在这个当前，在这个不是这个这个意义冲突的时候，这个采取这种非常困难的。他认为过去关系他跟以色列的关系非常好，是吧？但是呢，他前一段是伊朗是支持这个，反过来的，他支持这个印度的，结果反过来，好了，这次印度的话，他采取非常模糊的这个措施，他就是没有表示支持这个伊朗，是吧？而反过来，巴基斯坦他就对他很恨啊，你支持印度来打我，那但是这次他反过来去支持伊朗。那么我问他呢，他这个东西呢，跟过去就现在本来的话，就是英国、法国这个德国，这个跟美国在在以色列的问题上，这个在核谈判上面有不同的看法，就是好像跟美国还是保持一定的距离，但是现在内塔尼亚胡一打以后呢，他们又跟上了，这个跟。我问他是不是跟这个基督教的因素有关系？我说他是有关系的。这个基督教，这个在某种程度上呢，过去从十字军东征啊，一直到现在这个东西这个变化。所以我说这个研究一下宗教的问题，对当前的看世界问题，我觉得很重要的，很值得这个贡献。那么我过去翻译过一篇文章，咱们这个历史所写的一个。关于这个武则天啊，怎么样子受这个中国化，就是说宗教中国化方面都起到了很大的作用的，啊，原来的中国的这个土地宗教，它是本教，你们都研究过本教本理论，是吧？跟白虎教他们那些都还有很大的这个联系的。后来他为了维持统治，引进了这个印度的这个佛教来保护他的那个东西，是吧？那么说讲起来这些是故事，事实上呢，我的看法，这个意识形态，另外呢，他上次这个宴会上也讲到这个密宗的问题，是吧？谈这里刚才讲的这个谈这里的密宗的问题，这个东西的确也比较很敏感，那有些问题你可以大家给讲讲看看，听讲有些什么感想？啊，吃饭都会，外事处他带我去，边吃饭边谈嘛，还是，小人，吃饭是不是这个怎么？
讲座就差不多了。
完了在外面吃。
因为我们是还
在成都路的那个餐厅。
M.K. Bhadrakumar, ambassador, I think you have met him. He has just written an article, I just read it last night, this morning, saying exactly what you said is becoming a Christian war. 3 Christian countries, Germany, France, and UK, are helping Israel quietly, you know.
Yeah.
On the one side, they are saying, oh, don't fight, but at the same time, they're actually helping. And he has pointed out his own religious side to it.
中华大使写了一篇文章，实质上就是宗教战争，新的十字军东征，他们站在这个以色列一边。